Alright class, in this short video we're going to talk about how Canada is divided into regions and how they're divided into provinces and territories. We're also going to look at what the difference between a province and a territory is, and we're also going to specifically look at why Canadians live only in certain places. Alright, let's begin. Canada is divided into what we call provinces and territories. Those two words, you're going to be hearing a lot about those two words in this short video. Now, there are 10 provinces in Canada. Each province has its own government and capital city. Another way to look at a province is think of them as a state. Provinces are what they call states in our country. So, in Canada, instead of calling them states like we do in our country, they call them provinces. So it's just something different that Canada does. So one difference between Canada and the United States. And if you look at the picture below, each one that's an individual color, a different color, is a province or a territory. Now, what are territories? So we looked at provinces. Let's take a look at territories. Territories are areas that have too few people to become a province. So in other words, this means that their population is way too small to be considered a province. Now, Canada has 3 territories. And if we look at the bottom, these are the territories that Canada has. And like I just mentioned earlier, there are 3 of them. And all I've done is kind of outline where they're found. So those are the 3 territories. Now, later on, we'll look at what they're called specifically and so forth. Alright, next one. This one, Canada is divided into 5 regions. So let's break this down. First one is the Atlantic region. And this one's found right here, the Atlantic region. Next one is the core region. And that's this one right here. Next one you have is the prairie region. That's found there. Next one is Pacific region. That's this one here. And last but not least, you have the northern region, and that's found up above in the north. So Canada has 5 regions. Alright, now let's talk about each individual region and learn about the provinces that are found there. So in the Atlantic region, this region is found along the Atlantic coast, which is why they call it the Atlantic region, because the Atlantic Ocean is next to it. Now, this region has 4 provinces. You have Newfoundland and Labrador, which is found here. You have Prince Edward Island, which is found here. You have Nova Scotia, which is there, and then New Brunswick, which is found right there. So these are the provinces in the Atlantic region. Let's move on to the next one. The next one we're going to talk about is the core region. Now this region is found north of the Great Lakes. So if you don't know where the Great Lakes are found down here. Now, this one only has 2 provinces. You have Ontario, which is found here. And then Quebec, which is the giant one right here. So this one only has 2 regions, but they also happen to be some of the biggest. Alright, next one. The next one is the Prairie region. And this region covers Canada's Central Plains. So this is where a lot of good farmland is found within Canada. And this one only has 3 provinces. You have Manitoba, which is this one. You have Saskatchewan, which is found in the middle, the one in the middle. And if you remember me mentioning, this one sounds kind of like Sasquatch, so it'll hopefully be easier to remember. And then last but not least, you have Alberta, which kind of looks like Nevada. So these are the regions or the provinces that are found in the prairie region. Next, we'll talk about the Pacific region. And this region is found along the Pacific coastline. So if you look at the map, the reason why it's called the Pacific region is because it's found next to the Pacific Ocean. Now, unlike the other regions, this one only has one province, and this province is known as British Columbia. And as you remember, it's the one on the far left. Alright, now let's talk about the northern region. Now this region is found in the northern part of Canada, and this one only has 3 territories. So remember, a territory is an area where they have too small a population to be considered a province. Now, these territories are the Yukon Territory, which kind of looks like a triangle, Northwest Territories, and then last but not least, we have Nunavut. And these are the 3 territories of Canada. Now, who knows, in the near future, if their population were to increase, then they could potentially become provinces or states. Now, last but not least, let's look at why Canadians only live in certain areas. So, as we learned before, Canada is a very large country in area or in size, but it's super small in population. Remember, the state of California has more people living in it than Canada, the entire country of Canada. So it's very drastic. Now, one of our texts talks about how about 80% of Canadians live in urban areas or cities. So 80% of their population lives in cities. Or another way to look at it is out of 10 people, 8 would live in a city. So very high. And then the other 20 or the other 2 or the other 20% live in the countryside. So 20% of Canadians live in rural areas or in the countryside. As you can see, Canada, very unique, very different. Now, most of Canada's people live within 100 miles of the U.S. border. So if you look at this picture below, you can see that green line kind of highlights where most of Canada's population tends to live. Very populated. You can see, for example, cities like Toronto. Cities like Toronto, the capital of Ottawa, Quebec City, Halifax, Winnipeg, and Victoria are found within the United States. And there's a very unique reason for this. And a big part of it ends up being their climate. And that's what we're going to look on the next slide. But take a look. These are some of the larger cities up above in the northern region, but very unpopulated. Alright. One major reason why people in Canada live so close to the United States has to do with climate. Weather is a big reason why so many people live in this area. And the big reason not only is the climate, but it's their winters. Keep in mind, the further north you are, the colder your winters are going to be. Not only are your winters going to be colder, but your winters are also going to be longer. So winters can be pretty harsh across the country, especially in both the prairie and the core regions. This is the area that receives the most snow, and in some cases, the coldest weather. So this is a major reason why Canadians tend to live closer to the United States. It's not that they like us more, but mainly for weather purposes. Now, just to quickly review, Canada has 10 provinces, 3 territories, 5 regions, and they live near US because of weather. So hopefully we can start to think about why people why people only live in certain areas in Canada. Now later on, we're going to be talking about weather, how they get used to that, the language that they speak, and many, many more topics. Hopefully this video was the questions were easy to answer. Like always, if you have any questions, feel free to let me know. Thank you.